Massive sinkhole in the backyard of an elderly Aussie couple leads to an amazing discovery about the house. An elderly couple from Ipswich, Queensland made headlines for a peculiar reason. The couple in their 70s had never thought that the house that they were living in since the 1990s was going to deprive them of their sleep. It all happened one morning when a neighbor told them that there was a sinkhole in their backyard. It was wide and deep and filled with water. However, the most astonishing point was not that, but what came after that. Beautiful city. The incident took place in Queensland of Australia. This beautiful city became the center of fear when this unbelievable news rose to the scene. The couple was lost in their sleep while the entire town was crowded in front of their house. Ipswich. It is a northeastern state of Australia that covers the continent's most tropical and wettest part. The coral seas bounds it from the north and east, and it is New South Wales that bounds it from the south. Ipswich falls in the southeast Queensland of Australia. The region is sprawled over 1,090 square kilometers and boasts a population of 210,000 people. Ray and Lynette McKay. Ray and Lynette McKay are a retired couple who were spending their life after retirement in a house in Ipswich, Queensland. It is a beautiful suburb with a peaceful atmosphere. It was indeed a perfect place for them to spend the rest of their lives. Close to heart. The couple loved nature, and that is the very reason they decided to spend the rest of their lives in Ipswich. However, little did they know that nature is not always kind to their lovers. The McKays had settled in the town since 1991. Surprising truth. Ray McKay and Lynn were soon going to find out a surprising truth about their house. The couple was living alone in the house as their children were not in the town. However, they would visit them every now and then. Friendly neighbors. The McKays were very friendly by nature. They had good relations with all of their neighbors. Lynn loved talking to people, and that is why she was one of her neighbors' favorite. However, soon the couple were going to be famous for a different reason altogether. Mysterious hole. It all happened one fine day when a giant, mysterious hole ripped open in front of their house. It came out of nowhere, and surprisingly, the residents got this news from their neighbors. When they came out, they had their heart in their mouth. Ground was being swallowed. Everything changed overnight. The ground first quivered, and then it began to collapse. It was a tragic sight to see. The couple had never imagined in their entire life that they would see something like this. But why did that happen? How did this sinkhole appear? There was an amazing story behind that. A knock. Lynn reminisces. 9 o'clock I get a knock on the door, and it's the chap from next door. The woman had not expected what the man told her. She immediately called her husband and rushed outside. A hole. She further stated, I come out and I've got a hole in the ground. It was a very little one, a meter, and it's just got bigger since. The story was only going to get scarier from there on. It was not an ordinary sinkhole. It had kept many secrets within it. The sinkhole was huge. They were scared and curious both at the same time. The backyard was all plain yesterday, and today there was a giant hole. They immediately contacted the authorities before any further damage. Scaringly, the hole was filled with water. The sinkhole got famous. What's worse, the hole was broadening with every passing hour. The ground was crumbling into vast chasm. They feared that their house would too fall into the hole if action was not taken in time. So they contacted the authorities without wasting a minute. Authorities appeared at the scene soon after. The couple was standing outside their house. The authorities too could not understand what it was that was happening, but they knew that something had to be done in time. Meanwhile, the couple was advised to put up in a hotel. First time. Lynn and McKay were married to each other for a long time. Never had they ever seen anything like this in their entire life. However, it was real and right before their eyes. The authorities had taken charge, but still had no concrete solutions in sight. Viral news. Soon the news went viral. Everyone in the locality and the country had heard about this peculiar incident. They all had one question. How did this hole come about? By appearance, it looked like a sinkhole. The sinkhole itself was not news, but what was found under it. Getting the news. Their daughter Tracy O'Neill learned about the incident from a Facebook post. I called Mom after seeing a big hole in their yard and she said, "Can't talk, we're leaving the house," O'Neill said. The woman immediately got into the car and drove from Toowoomba to see her parents. Pretty exhausted. O'Neill went on to say, "We are all pretty exhausted. We came down at 9 a.m. this morning and haven't had a chance to sit down and catch up with my parents yet. I just thought, not again. They had already lost everything in the floods, and that was nearly the end of Mom and Dad emotionally and physically, and then I saw this." Next step. O'Neill said, "I think at this stage we are just going to be looking at the next step. We will have more of an idea tonight and tomorrow." On being asked if her parents would leave the house after the incident, she replied that this house is the first property that they bought with their own money. So there was no way that they were going to leave that. Only home. Mom and Dad are really happy there. It is the first home that they've bought, and it is the only home that they are going to live in. They've been through the floods, been through this, not much more can change. If they have to move, then there would be another option, but at the moment, I'm not going to stress my parents out. No clue. The ground continued to sink in, and the authorities were still not aware of the reason behind this occurrence, but soon they would discover the cause. Initial assessment. Dr. Anthony Linham, Minister for Mines, stated, "We suspect what has happened is an artificial cap was put on the hole, and there is a big body of water that has been under that hole for quite some time. When the cap sunk, the water has come up, and that is the initial assessment," concluded Anthony. Until the hole came. The couple had no idea that the house that they were living in was hiding something. There was something beneath the ground that remained in oblivion until the hole occurred. Coal mining shaft. The authorities and the couple learned that there was a coal mining shaft beneath the backyard. Perhaps the shaft was built in the early 1900s. Now everything seemed clear. The ground crumbled because of the collapse of the shaft beneath it. Coal Road. It was then that the McKays realized why the street they were living on was called Coal Road. The lane had many coal shafts out there in early times, and this happened to be one of them. The family had to move. It was confirmed that the shaft was beneath the backyard, but the authorities were still not sure whether it was under the house or not. And in that situation, they did not want to take any risk. That is why the couple had to shift to some other place for some time. It was a painful decision for them, as they had been staying in the house since 1991 and had grown attached to it. Widening. The sinkhole, on the other hand, was growing larger by the day. Scaringly, in a matter of weeks, the hole had gone up to 20 feet wide and 30 feet deep. The timber covering the shaft had rotted, and that is why the ground base above it crumbled down. Growing bigger. One of their neighbors, Ken Morton, explained, "I think it's grown another 2 meters all around since I saw it yesterday." He explained, "I don't believe it will grow any bigger than it is now. It's been quite a shock and spectacle so far." Scared and hopeful. Lynn was terrified to her soul. "You don't expect something like this to happen in your backyard," she said. "I don't want it to take my clothesline. You can't get those anymore. The bigger the hole gets, the more nervous I am feeling. Will it stop? Won't somebody do something?" The house wasn't in any danger. Luckily, the hole did not reach the house. The shaft was limited to only their backyard. Soon, the house saw miners who came to take stock of the situation. They even helped the couple in bringing out the water from the hole and many other important works. Works began. The mines people are outside surveying the situation, looking at that and everyone's around. "I don't know who's here and who's not," said Lynn. "They're bringing in pumps and things now, so I don't know what's going to happen." The couple was clueless as to what was happening to their house. Shaft. The mayor put forth some facts about the shaft. He explained that one shaft was actually built in the same area, but that was believed to be at least another 40 meters far from the recently found hole. The misconception would have arisen because of a lack of record keeping in the early 1900s. Not to forget, it was dug sometime between 1903 and 1920. A problem. Pisa Sale further described, "Where I was concerned about this one was that no one had any record of mining here, and I'm thinking, holy smokes, is there a problem here? But it was never a mine, it was just a shaft that they created. One thing about back then, they were very bad at keeping records." Not worth it. Mayor stated, "This is a very old area of the city, and local mine expert Ken Grubb has identified that there was a shaft put in many years ago, in 1903, and they identified the coal was too deep and not worth it. All the steps." He opened up. It'll get worse for the next couple of hours. It's an exploratory shaft that goes down about 100 meters, and there's no need to panic about a neighborhood falling in, and we will take all of the steps to get Lynn and Ray back in their house. Support. It was a tough time for the couple, however, they were receiving support from all over the country. Paul Pisasale, Ipswich mayor, did breakfast with them. I had breakfast with them this morning and they are in good spirits, and we just have to make sure that the impact of this hole doesn't impact their mental health. Protection. Mayor said, Lynn's biggest asset and worry was the Hills clothes hoist, and that is going to be protected. The suburb has nothing to worry about. Everything is safe. The McKays have just drawn the short straw. I am just pleased it wasn't under their house. Paid by Mayor. Not only that, the mayor went on to pay for their stay at the hotel. Though the couple had house insurance, it was not enough to cover the whole of it. I have made arrangements for Ray and Lynn McKay to be in the hotel accommodation overnight to make sure that they have some peace of mind, said Mayor Paul Pisasale. Own chair. O'Neill said, Mom's coping a bit better than Dad, and I think he would rest better sitting in his own chair watching TV. They all begun to wait for the completion of the investigation. The area had to be restricted. Before rolling out the full-fledged investigation, officers separated the house from the rest by fencing it at all sides. They started to work at their fastest pace, as the McKays could not get their house back until the investigation was over. They were totally shaken by the incident. They needed some rest in their own house. Work started fast. The team had a lot of things to do. They began pulling the water out of the pool. Once they were done with it, they had to fill a truck with the dirt taken from the hole. Missing home. Whereas the work was going on in full swing at the house, McKays missed their home a lot. I didn't get any sleep. I was thinking about what was happening at home, Lynn remarked. They haven't told us if it will get any bigger, just that they want to pump the water out and fill it with gravel. It could be weeks before it gets back to normal. We haven't really been given a time frame, Lynn said. It would soon be over. After a month, the hole was filled and the McKays were back in their home. The couple was very happy and soon started redecorating their backyard. They were not alone in their endeavor. The entire town was with them. You may mistake this to be the end of their adventurous story, but it was not. There's more to it. Planning maps. Mayor said, we know which suburbs have got mines, and if you look at all of our planning maps for people buying residential property, everything is safe and it's all recorded now online for everyone to see. And only 1% of Ipswich was ever mined. Highest industry. The mining industry doesn't even exist now. Our highest industry is aerospace and technology. So those days are gone, but history always shows you the past comes back to haunt you occasionally. Souvenir. The couple found themselves a souvenir of this tragic accident. They kept a piece of wood that was once a part of the sinkhole. They kept it so that it would remind them of this weird incident in their lives. Little did they know, the incident was still happening. Again. 6 months went by normally. They had given a beautiful look to their garden and everything seemed to be in place. But that did not remain for long as the ground quakened again. Their backyard was sinking again. But this time, the reason was heavy rain. Not the first time. McKays had to suffer a lot of unfortunate events. One of them occurred in 2011 when they had to say goodbye to all of their belongings due to a flood. They saw their things being swept away with the water. Their story tugged so many heartstrings, and one of them was the mayor. A Christmas gift. He was deeply moved by the couple's sufferings, and so he decided to do something special for the couple in the coming Christmas. However, little did they know, a few years after, their backyard was going to cease to exist. Hole in backyard. Isn't this story terrifying? What would you do if you saw a sinkhole in your backyard? We wonder how this old couple is doing now. So how do you like this story?